My guest today has spent 20 years inside the AdTech machine and came out convinced the whole thing is a play. Everybody's memorized their lines, and not one of them will say it with the lights on. He calls it sewage. He calls it theater. He calls it a courage problem. And he's the rare consultant who'll put his actual name on the accusation. He's Alessandro De Zanche, and this is the AdTech show.
Welcome to the AdTech's show. My guest today is Alessandro De Zanche, media monetization consultant, ad exchanger columnist, and the man who told the ad tech industry it does not have a transparency problem, it has a courage problem. David Cole, one of the most respected figures in programmatic, called him one of the most thoughtful and balanced leaders in our industry. I have read his work. It's thoughtful, balanced, but also sharp enough to cut. He thinks the industry is a theater where everyone knows the script. He thinks agentic AI is about to repeat programming's worst mistakes, and thinks most of you are too scared to say what you actually think. Alessandro, welcome. How are you doing today?
Hello, thank you very much for having me. I love your new intro song. It says,
Thank you.
Expect a real conversation. So that's the best way to start.
So you wrote in Alessandro, you wrote in Ad Exchanger, AdTech doesn't have a transparency problem. It has a courage problem. You said executives position themselves as leader on stage and in podcasts, but retreat to anonymity when their views might challenge powerful platforms. I agree with you, but can you help me what you mean by that? What does the courage gap look like in practice? Give me a scene. What happens when a journalist calls an AdTech exec for a quote about the trade desk?
I don't want to make names of publications because it's not about the publication. But once I read an article about the trade desk naming SSPs as reseller, labeling SSPs as reseller.
Right, which is exactly what Jeff Green said straight out. Right.
And in that very article, they were, besides a quote from the trade desk, there were 5 sell-side people anonymously in exchange for candor giving their opinion. And that 5 people in the same article wanting to be anonymous made me really realize that the issue is bigger than what it looks like, because...
Well, you're right. Most of the people who come on my newsletter, they ask specifically to be anonymous. They say they don't want what they say, especially to get back to the trade desk that they said it, or another large DSP.
Yes, and that's not just about the article, the being quoted. It's about doing the right thing and moving the industry forward. If we are not able to name the issues and to put our faces there. And in that article, I mentioned the fact that it was a great opportunity to start a discussion, an open debate on it. And that's what didn't happen initially. So it's we're not discovering it today, but the fact that today we are still at that stage, we are missing opportunities.
So you praised Andrew Casale at the Index Exchange for publicly calling the trade desk wrong when they said that the SSPs were just resellers, but you also praised Jeff Green for forcing the conversation. Can you explain that to me? How can both sides be right? Because
Absolutely.
The audience, it sounds like you're saying the bully was wrong about the facts, but right about the effect.
Well, I mean, it's about the concept about needing courage. It's about the fact that someone on one side is stating his thoughts, and on the other side, it took Andrew Casale after some time to and it's not an issue about the time, but a CEO to come up from the other side saying what he was thinking. And meanwhile, a lot of candid industry executives were hiding behind that's a missed opportunity. It's not about I'm praising the two. It was an opportunity to talk openly and move the conversation forward.
Is Jeff Green the villain that we need, or just another actor in this theater that you described?
No, it's just another actor. As in the industry, we like to find villains, while in reality, I think it's more complex than what we would like to think. But the issues of the industry are not black or white. There are a lot of shades of gray, and I don't think that trade desk is the issue.
So you also wrote in LinkedIn, an industry that needs anonymity to speak honestly wants to lead an AI revolution. Let's start with the mindset. Can you explain that connection to me? What does courage have to do with AI specifically? Because AI, in my mind, doesn't care if you're honest or anonymous. Why does the mindset matter when machines are making the decisions?
Sure, absolutely. I don't remember exactly what the post was about, but I think I meant that we are at the verge of a technological revolution, and we are still playing games where we are hiding, and we don't have a stance. We don't have a position. In order to evolve and innovate, you need to have clear ideas, and you need to have the strength to be behind your words with your face and your name. I think that's what I meant. I don't recall exactly the post.
You also made...
If last touch attribution worked, your waiter would get full credit for the meal. We make sure the chef gets credit too. Incremental.
An extraordinary claim in the questionnaire. You said that transparency in digital advertising doesn't necessarily come through technology, that this is something that everyone gets wrong. The industry spent a decade building technical transparency solutions, AdTech's, JSON, supply path optimization, blockchain verification. Are you saying they all missed the point?
I don't think they're missing the point. I'm thinking that the industry is torn apart by conflicting interests and business models. I think that before giving up transparency, giving the task of transparency to the machines, there is a lot that we can do as individuals, as humans. Know your customer, KYC, for example. It's a very basic measure that exists in different industries, in finance, law firms, a lot of industries that are required by law to know who they are making business with. So a lot of the issues would be already eliminated by removing also anonymity in the digital advertising ecosystem. And we don't need and one newsletter post I wrote, the title was more or less, "Why do we need AI when hammer is enough?" And so it's, if we really want to solve the issues, let's start with some basic quick fixes, and then let's move on with technology to refine it.
So I'm curious, if the industry is a theater where most people know the play, what is your role in that play?
I'm mainly in the public heckling. No, I'm kidding. It's a way I used to describe that constant cycle of outrage. When some scandal come up, we all cry foul and advocate for transparency, and then 2 weeks later we have already forgotten. And
Right.
and that's why I'm saying that is a theater where everybody is playing a part. Because if we really wanted to solve the issue, we wouldn't forget it after 2 weeks.
So, Alessandro, can you explain commoditization 1.0 and 2.0 to me like I'm a publisher who has heard the word programmatic 1,000 times but never actually understood what it cost me? What happened the first time, and why do you think it's going to happen again?
Well, we are facing a very different scenario compared to 1.0. 1.0 was when quality media, and I'm simplifying here, but that's the way I see it. They joined the programmatic open marketplace where they diluted their value across the long tail.
And what is the value? I have a
Plus-
note here. It's context, content, trust, and audience.
Yes, it's the entirety of their environment, and that's the way they should be selling it, rather than decoupled assets sold by the kilo, by the bag in the open marketplace. But
But
also,
you mentioned that the quality media brands legitimize the open marketplace
Exactly.
by participating. In plain language, they walked into the casino and gave the house credibility. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So they accepted to be in a big bucket with millions of other websites. And so it resulted in two issues. The one that I mentioned earlier, they diluted their value. And the other one is they legitimized all the context and that wider environment. Now 2.0 is taking commoditization to a new level. While in 1.0, I was advocating for a walled garden of quality media, working on exclusivity, on scarcity, on the quality of the overall environment. In 2.0, we are facing generative AI. And while before it was evident what was quality content and what wasn't, with generative AI improving every day, we are at the stage where we have good enough content that the average audience will not be able to detect and understand if it's human or if it's AI generated. That means that the differentiation needs to move onto the level of trust. So it's not about the quality of the content, but it's also about the quality of those that are writing it and the fact that they are humans and the fact that they have established a relationship with their audience based on trust. And that cannot happen if it's not strategic. This is not just philosophy. It needs to work practically.
So you said that certain ad tech players need sewage. You said that the role is to find diamonds in the sewage, so they need the sewage. Can you walk me through what that means? Who are the diamond finders, and why do they need sewage?
Well, that's what I meant earlier when I was talking about the programmatic open marketplace. The fact that by design, there are quality media owners that are swimming in sewage. And so you have companies that need to try to find these diamonds, and they are paid for it. So they're paid if there is sewage and if diamonds need to be found. Otherwise, they are not paid. But why? And back to commoditization and the way publishers work together. Why can diamond dealers work together and create a marketplace of diamonds? And that's what I meant with that.
So you also coined funnel of trust in 2020, and that became the trust loop. Can you explain, the trust loop to me? What is it? How does it work? And why does it matter for this conversation?
Sure. The funnel of trust, it was a linear funnel where, based on trust, was a strategy, a framework that I advocated for media owners to approach an anonymous user, establish a two-way communication, motivating consent, explaining consent, educating the user, and then taking them through the funnels. Why do I need you to register? What is in it for you? Where the value exchange is? And so for being always logged in and to exchange zero-party data, and etc., etc. That trust that today they need to avoid commoditization 2.0. A strategic, a mental approach. The loop is circular. You never end to earn and deserve trust. And that's why I see it as a circle. And in the funnel, it was mainly focused on users and how to bring the user to a relationship. In the loop, I see also a very much a cultural approach. So it's not just about trust between you and your audience. It's also about the trust with you and the advertisers. It's also about a transparent approach across all the different touch points.
So since agents don't understand trust, aren't they destroying the only advantage that premium publishers have?
Well, I wouldn't blame the agents. I would blame, if you accept to participate in that game, yes, they will probably destroy it. Although, again, it depends on how publishers work together. Because everything. Technology is agnostic. So the way is how you strategically approach it and allow it across your environments. I don't see necessarily AI agents as something negative, but it's not. It cannot be about filtering the sewage. It has to be within a environment that humans strategically created and designed boundaries across and around.
So he also said the biggest obstacle to better digital advertising is strategy, but not technology. And this is obviously
Yes.
an issue for most people because every conference, every VC pitch, every vendor roadmap is about AI agents, signals, and automation. If strategy is the answer and everyone's building technology, is the industry getting everything wrong?
Well, no, I would do the same. We have different parts of the industries, different roles,
Right.
and we need balance. We need a balanced ecosystem. It means that every part needs to participate actively, and that's the way in which everybody can thrive in a balanced ecosystem. And in
Is that what
balanced
you sell as a
ecosystem,
consultant?
sorry.
Is that what you sell as a consultant? Because the strategy that no one wants to pay for because technology is sexier?
Well, I work on strategy first. I work on understanding the assets and understand how the assets work together, understanding the uniqueness. And then you need to approach the outside with a clear awareness of what your strengths are, make the best of your value. Protecting your assets in media, protecting your content, protecting your audience. Trust is not just to be gained in a funnel, is to be gained, maintained, renewed in a loop.
You wrote that you're also open-minded about AI to fix the open marketplace, but your entire commoditization 2.0 argument is warning against it. How open-minded are you really?
No, this is that's a very good question, and thank you for challenging me on that. There are different situations, different tiers in the market, and I always advocated for 2 tiers at least. Tier 1, a transparent walled garden of quality media. And when I say quality media, doesn't mean necessarily, obviously, content, but it's also standards and what it's offering the advertiser. And that's tier 1. Tier 2 is everything at the advertiser's own risk. But I am also convinced that technology and humans can help increasing the value of that tier 2. So I'm not against the open marketplace. I'm just saying it depends what kind of media company you are, and I don't see that as a destination for quality media.
So I want to move on to Desert Island, where there's 0 industry people, a coach, a leader, artist, the Fonz, and a storyteller. You brought Phil Jackson, Michelle Obama,
Yes.
Rosalía, Henry Winkler, the Fonz, and Guillermo del Toro, and you explicitly said no one from the industry. That was a deliberate choice. You write about AdTech every week. You live inside the industry, but when you imagine yourself being stuck somewhere, you do not want anyone from business with you. Could you help me understand that?
Obviously, this is a game. And I thought, I don't really believe that I will be stuck forever on that island. So Phil Jackson, I love what he did, the way, and he's applied to the industry.
Which do you use the triangle fence in your day-to-day?
Tex Winter. That was Tex Winter.
What?
His assistant.
Oh, really? So you know more about basketball than I do. Just kidding. I know the Bulls. I know.
What I liked, but the reason why I like Phil Jackson is the way he brought together strong personalities and
huge
created
egos.
Teams. Absolutely,
huge egos. That's amazing. Is that what you're saying the advertising industry needs? Are you going to be like the Phil Jackson?
The digital advertising ecosystem. Yes, not the advertisers only. Yes, we need more of that. I chose Rosalía because I don't know how familiar you are with her. But
that's the only one I had to look up. She took flamenco, one of the most traditional art forms of the world, and fused it with reggaeton, electronic, and hip-hop.
her last album was a mix of different genres, the different languages, different
But made the
influences.
traditionalists angry, I saw.
Well, that's what we need in the industry. We don't need.
So you are the Rosalía of AdTech. You're taking traditional sell-side argument and making it sound
It would be
completely new?
a bit arrogant for me thinking of that, but we need to defeat a monoculture. We need to
Right.
defeat the tunnel vision that the different sides of the industry keep. And that's what Rosalía did in her last album. Who else? Michelle
Guillermo
Obama.
del Toro, Pan's Labyrinth, The Shape of Water, beautiful stories in dark worlds.
Yes.
Fairy tales where the
and-
monsters are ambiguous. So what draws you to
Yes.
that?
Well, maybe now I'm thinking maybe one reason was because he recently released Frankenstein.
Well, yeah, I haven't
Wasn't
seen
it?
it yet.
And so sometimes we are stitching and patching the technology in the industry instead of rethinking how to start from scratch. And sometimes I think we need that. But also I like the fact that he finally realized a movie that he wanted to make when he was a little kid. And that for me, it's that kind of consistency and clarity. It's very valuable also in digital advertising. And who else did I mention?
Well, then you picked Harry Winkler, the
Yes.
grandfather of six, Jewish grandfather of six, who is known for his unadulterated joy and happiness now.
Absolutely.
One of the most genuinely beloved humans in entertainment. I've met him in Jersey. He's visited like Jewish areas and shook hands.
I met
why
him too. I met him too. It was probably the first TV series that when I was growing up in Italy had at the time there were like only 2 channels. And 7 p.m. you had Happy Days. It's got, for me, is not an actor. Is part of my childhood. Right. And I met him, and he was so nice. So it's joy. And as much as Michelle Obama, I think I like her lightness and her approach.
Despite impossible scrutiny, relentless criticism, and basically having to represent something larger than herself, yet she managed just calm, professional, composure, and grace.
Yes.
Is that the leadership model you wish that we had in this industry?
Yes, but we can't. We need to think with our head and be ourselves. Hence, no anonymity, please.
Right.
And that would be the first very important step.
Yeah, she's the opposite of anonymous. She's the most visible person on earth for a while, and she never hid. You think she's the antidote to the courage problem?
Could be. But as much as her, I think a lot of those that I mentioned that I would like to have on the island are courageous in different ways and in their fields. So
but you didn't bring David Cole, even though you named him your Yoda.
Well, David Cole, because it probably, if we are getting stranded on an island, he would be already on the small boat. We would be probably having a holiday somewhere around Cannes during the festival.
Yeah, he said, I need to ask you what seafood you would eat on the island. Something to do with Cannes and a beach.
Yes, we are always, I mean, I'm always laughing. He doesn't laugh as much about it, but we went to eat fish for dinner once, and one thing I hate is to wrestle with the crabs. I'm very lazy when I'm at dinner, so I left all the work, all the labor to him while I
he was just cracking the.
He was cracking. I was talking, and then eating afterwards.
Right.
But David is another great person and great executive in the industry. Tried and always pushes towards not the easiest path, but the path that brings value in the long term. And he did that with the trust tax, later on with symmetry. So it's that kind of conversations and energy that I love in the industry.
Right. He also said you're one of the most thoughtful and balanced leaders in the industry, thoughtful and balanced, but your writing is very sharp. You call things sewage, you call the industry a theater, you say executives lack courage. How do you reconcile balanced with sharp? Because most people think they're the opposite.
Because if you read what I say, I'm always an optimist.
Right.
As I said earlier, we are not an industry of blacks and whites. We have a lot of shades of gray. And what I usually call out is things that are evident and we are trying not to see. But at the same time, I always, if you read across all my articles, I know very well that there is good ad tech. They are forward-thinking media owners. They are innovative advertisers and great people in the industry. The issue is it's harder to be all this and it's easier to be the opposite. I rant about the bad guys, not about everybody, not about the industry.
So you've worked at Sysmex, Yahoo, News Corp, Telefonica, BFK.
Yes, News
It's
UK.
every side of the industry. AdTech, media, mobile
Exactly.
research, measurement. What
Exactly.
vantage point taught you the most? And what gave you the clearest view of
The
what's broken?
entirety, and that's what when I mentioned earlier, when I mentioned monoculture is a huge issue in the industry. We need to have seen the other side to better understand our side. And we need to see the ecosystem as an ecosystem. Ton of visions, conflicting business models haven't done anything good for the industry. I'm pretty convinced about this. So I wouldn't pick a single element of it. It's the entirety.
So you're Italian, based in London, writing for English and an American publication, consulting with European companies. You're multilingual, multi-market. Does that outsider-insider perspective shape your criticism?
I think I feel empathy. I think the empathy and the experiences help me in seeing the different sides of the ecosystem, what I mentioned earlier. Because when I talk about media owners, I strongly believe that we need self-sustaining media owners. We need it for society. We need for democracy. At the same time, we need to translate their value into products. We cannot expect advertisers to pay charity, to give charity to media owners just because they're media owners and they are struggling. What I'm saying with this is there is a lot of value in media owners. What as a category very often struggle is to translate that into a product, a proposition that makes it easier for advertisers to buy. Talking about balance, people very often point fingers at AdTech for the situation or for the condition media owners are, or advertisers and the budgets and the dominance of Google and the dominance of the Trade Desk and the dominance of this, the dominance of that. But then again, if there is a vacuum, anybody driving a company will try to occupy a vacuum. The question is, why is there a vacuum there? Why is not occupied by those that most need it? Is because very often the strategy is missing.
Your superpower wish is ubiquity, the ability to be everywhere at once, but your entire thesis of commoditization is that ubiquitous distribution destroys premium value. Scarcity creates value. Exclusivity creates value. Ubiquity is the enemy of your thesis. So can you help me understand why you want the one thing that your thesis says is destructive?
Well, I see that you have carefully and thoroughly analyzed my words. I wasn't thinking of it as a specifically from an industry perspective. I lived in 4 different countries. I thanks to digital advertising and digital media, I have friends all over the world. And
what's your favorite country?
And very often, I don't have a favorite country. It's actually what I find fascinating is the connection that I have with people, and the people that I have good connection with are coming from different countries. And I'm thinking altogether we would do the best. We would create the best country.
Right.
So I don't have.
Is that what Switzerland is? That all these people came together from Germany and France?
Too cold.
It's too cold. That's true. But you're in London. That's not exactly.
Well, but I'm splitting now. Recently, I started splitting myself between Italy, Spain, and London more often. And so
South of Spain, I hope.
No, but Barcelona. I lived in Barcelona in the past, and where my heart is. Anyway, again, I'm not good at picking a best because the south of Spain is fantastic. I love being in Madrid. Its diversity and variety is what makes life interesting.
You're also a member of Odyssey AI, the Spanish Observatory on the Ethics of AI. Probably pronounced it wrong.
Odyssey, yes,
because Odyssey is seen?
Sorry?
What's the most concerning thing you've seen about how AI is being applied to the advertising industry that we're not talking about?
I don't think there is anything that is concerning more than what it was before. It's just a different tool. What is concerning is that we are conflating AI with strategy. AI is a tool and an instrument. We need the strategy, and then AI can support it. So it's and ethics start from the individual and from humans. So it's I don't have big concerns in terms of AI in advertising. I have concerns in how we approach it.
So rapid fire, the first thing comes to your mind. One word for the current state of the open marketplace.
Challenging.
The most overrated thing in ad tech right now?
AI.
Most underrated?
Strategy.
If you could require every ad tech CEO to read one book, what would it be?
I don't read books. I'm not particularly fond of non-fiction books. I find them interesting, but it's not that this is what I'm reading now. Is that what I'm reading now? That could be I'm reading The Culture Map by Erin Meyer, and it's about different cultures, different costumes, different ways of approaching relationships. That I would definitely suggest.
How would you apply the triangle offense to advertising?
Very good question. And I would go back to everything I say every 1st of January when I say what the most important things will be in digital advertising in the new year. And it will be the triangle is the audience, the advertiser, the media owner. Those are the 3 irreplaceable columns, pillars of digital advertising. The good ad tech is the technology that supports and creates quality interaction across these 3.
So last but not least, 10 words or less, the thing you want the industry to remember.
That only if quality media owners are self-sustainable, only with quality media, we can have quality advertising.
Thank you. David Cole called you one of the most thoughtful and balanced leaders in industry, and after this conversation, I can understand why. You are a rare person who can call the industry cowardly theater performing sewage and still sound reasonable while doing it. That is a talent. I'm Pesach Lattin, and this has been the Dotit Show. The problem is not technology, it is the courage and maybe the strategy, but definitely the courage, and see you next time.
Thank you for having me.
That's the show. Alessandro De Zanche, thank you for coming on and calling the industry a theater without once flinching, and for being the rare guest willing to put his whole name on the sewage metaphor. Everyone else, take notes. Thanks to our sponsors who, unlike most of my sources, actually let me say who they are. Troutman Amin LLP, the lawyers you want in your corner before the regulators come knocking, not after. And Incremental.com, proving that measurement can mean something more than a number you email yourself to feel better. I'm Pesach Lattin. The problem was never the technology, it was the courage, and occasionally, the crab legs. See you next time. A-D-O-T-A-T, and we aren't done. We aren't done. We're just getting started. No intimidation. We aren't scared. We are here, and my voice is clear. Oh, my voice is real clear. They said, dude, tone it down. I said, babe, have you met me? They said, maybe don't name names. I said, that's literally the whole point of the show.